Today's guest is so amazing. Systems, very approachable. He works in high value properties out in California, but how he got there, how he learned things along the way of the importance of systems and what he's going to share nuggets with you is just precious. His name is Matias Masucci, and you're just going to love him. So stay tuned.
Welcome to Real Estate Riches, where Kathy Byrnes empowers realtors to achieve the success they've always dreamed of. Starting her career at 55, Kathy built a thriving business that offers the freedom of time and financial independence. And now she's sharing her journey to help others do the same. Whether new to the industry or looking to level up, this channel is your hub for proven strategies, inspiring stories, and the tools you need to grow your real estate business. Join Kathy each week to explore global opportunities, successful systems, and expert insights to take your career to the next level. Get comfortable, pick a video, and start learning. Your journey to success starts now.
Hey everybody, it's Kathy Byrnes with Real Estate Riches, and today I have a really exciting guest, and I'm going to do my very best with his name because I love it. It's Matias Masucci.
No, you did great. Yeah, you did.
I'm
Good
excited.
job.
Okay, great. So I have people help me find different guests to come on my channel, and I have a requirement. I want them to be successful so that they have valuable tips to share. I want them to be current in AI and social media because it's so important today of what you're doing. And I just loved when I read your bio. I thought, oh, this is my guy. I like this guy a lot. So welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Kathy.
All right. Can you give us a little background about you? Because it's very entertaining.
Yeah, well, I mean, as things stand right now, I'm a real estate agent based in Beverly Hills, serving Los Angeles County. I'm a father of 4 little children under the age of 9. So that keeps me pretty busy between my job and my family obligations as a father, which are not obligations, the pleasure that I have as being a father. And but it didn't start out that way. That's kind of like always my intro. I was born and raised in Italy, moved to this country when I was 18. I came here for a 2-year internship in the entertainment industry, which is far from real estate. And then tangentially at a party, one thing led to another, and in 2004, so 20 plus years ago now, I slowly started to transition in real estate. I started with the toughest and less rewarding job there is in real estate, which is resident manager of apartment buildings, which is very tough and very little rewarding, but it was great because I really came up learning, the hard way. And then eventually, became a salesperson, a broker, et cetera, et cetera. And I truly love what I do. So, every day is an adventure, as you know, Kathy, very well. We get to meet and deal with a lot of people from all walks of lives. Just that it's so rewarding. And and obviously we serve clients from all walks of life, as I said, and that's been a great way of meeting people and expanding my network and things like that. So that's me in a nutshell.
Okay, that was good. So one of the things that I loved that you gave my crew was 2 press releases. And besides reading the press release, for me, it was the press release itself. Because today you have to be, instead of worrying about how are you searched necessarily on Google, it's how are you searched through AI vehicles. And press releases are a very powerful thing. They've always been powerful, but they're even more powerful now because it just cements more information about you. And because AI is doing deep research, when they're like, if I were to say, hey, I want a top agent in the Beverly Hills in California, you're going to likely come up higher for multiple reasons, your social media, but also the press release, however you've done your reviews on different platforms, because it looks through all of that. And I was just talking to a mortgage guy. I'm in a networking group called BNI.
Okay.
And he said,
I know BNI.
Oh, good. So he said to me, I got 2 deals this past week through ChatGPT. I said, wait a minute, how did that work? And so he told me, so I went on ChatGPT and I searched myself where I did not show up. And I'm like, I'm on a mission, because that's where it is right now. People are searching. No, I'm unique. I'm not a typical realtor. I do waterfront homes here in the Lake Norman area where I'm at.
Hmm.
However, I'm kind of moving away from that. I'm doing more outgoing referrals globally. And
Right.
I'm also looking to bring agents to our company. I'm with EXP. So
Got it.
that gives me a different mission. I'm not your average Joe. So I have to really be on purpose about how I'm getting my social image out there through AI. And that was a wake up call for me to see that. So now I have a whole new mission in life.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of noise out there. So
Yes.
you have to take things from different channel. And there's also something else to be said about social proof. So it's not necessarily coming up in ChatGPT or Google search, but it's somebody you meet on the street at an open house. You say, hey, look me, they always look you up, right? Like that's
Yes.
the thing. Like it's people looking you up. And when they Google your name, you want to make sure you have good client testimonials, you have good, you show what you've done for the listings, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, you have to be, it's very important. I know people that have zero online presence and still manage to have a good business. So it's not the only way to do it, but I think we are moving more and more toward that, toward the needing of social proof, people checking everything out, just as we do with restaurants. I mean, look how Yelp has become important, Google reviews, Google Maps, all of that. In our decisions, we now make decisions with that kind of information, and AI is going to play a role even on top of that, where it's sipping through the information, going through the information on our behalf and
Hmm.
giving us just the results. So you really want to get it from as many channels as you can.
And that's what I noticed about you. I don't think there was something that you did not cover. You're
Right.
on Twitter, you're on Pinterest, you're on YouTube, you're on every possible platform. And for some people, that feels very overwhelming. So, do you have help with all of that?
100%. So I wanted to talk about my inspiration, I guess, like years ago. We here in Beverly Hills, I've done a lot of transactions with agents who are on $1 million listing or whatever that are on television. That's just part of the territory. It's not really and a lot of them, like are not where they need to be as far as professionalism, et cetera, et cetera. So just because somebody's on TV doesn't mean that they really know what they're doing. But there is an agent, Ryan Serhant, which is in New York, which
Mhm.
I've always, he's like a behemoth of our industry, obviously as an agent. Now he started his own brokerage, but I I've noticed that one of the things that he was talking about was you have to become a media company as much as you can.
Yes.
So I slowly started on my own doing little things, and I realized, what, this is a full-time job. Like this is, I either sell real estate or I do everything else, and I'd rather focus on selling real estate. So I slowly brought on people to help me developing the systems, and basically the way it works for me right now, maybe once a week I spend an hour putting together content, and then everything else is repurposed through AI. I have a full-time assistant and I have a part-time marketing person. They do all of that. They do the edits. At the beginning, I was checking everything. Now that they know what I want, I don't check it anymore because it's so time consuming.
Right.
So as like you could do a video that takes, 10 minutes to record, and then you can do shorts out of that. You could do quotes out of that. You could do all of that repurposing. It's very important. And we
Yep.
bank heavily on that. Now, having said that, I still sprinkle in from, here and there, I sprinkle in my own personal posts. You can kind of recognize them. They're the one of my kids,
Of course.
those posts are like, because people want to know what's going on in your life. If anything, social media is also had as a byproduct, making people in Italy feel closer to me. My mom, my dad, my grandma, everybody that's in Italy, they kind of know what's going on in your life, and people love that. So I
I
think
think that's
that's
so true. Like, I'm a car girl, so I go to different car shows, and
right,
people want to relate to you. So that's part of like who they're how they're checking you out. Then they need to
right.
feel like you're my kind of people, you know?
Yes,
And even if you're referred to them, it's you got a better shot at doing business with them if you're referred, but they still have to feel warm and fuzzy about you to trust you, and
agreed.
they're still going to check you out. And I sprinkle a fair amount of personal into my because I use my personal Facebook page versus my business page. I
Hmm.
don't find much value in the business one. It's there,
Right.
but I do it more. My business is pretty much mixed into my personal, so it's a 50-50 shot.
That makes sense.
Dogs, your cars, your love,
Yeah, exactly.
travel. Like I got to do a really fun thing. You might like this. I like cars, but I'm a classic car girl, but I went on a Verve rally in Portugal where we drove exotic cars. And
Oh, nice.
yes, so there was 40 some people and there were 20 some cars and we were going top speeds through the mountains in Portugal. Incredible, and making new friends all around the world. So
Nice.
it was a combo business fun trip for me because I wanted to meet these high net worth people as connections for me doing global outgoing referrals, right? But it was so much fun. So I would post a lot of that in my social media and people were following along. Now, some people wanted to just see the countryside of Portugal. Some
Hmm.
were really interested in the cars, and some just like seeing my daughter and I hang out and just have a blast doing this. So
Yeah.
it was great. And I learned a lot on that trip about what's going on in England and
Hmm.
where, how the tax scenario just had so many millionaires and billionaires leave England and still are. Well, then I went on ChatGPT and I said, where are they going? And they said Dubai, Portugal,
Right.
Spain, Italy,
Right.
Mexico, Dominican Republic, a lot of different places. And I thought, well, great. I'm going to work on where that path is and start to try and build connections in those countries, both coming from England and where they're going to. So I love that you said you started out doing it all in the beginning.
Right.
And then you saw that it's a second business. We have to be marketers.
Right.
And you were the most exciting for me because I saw that you were on every platform, but I thought, well, this guy's got help.
Oh, for
Otherwise,
sure.
you can't do it all. And I went and liked, I think, just about everything you were a part of, just so that I could be connected to you. Because it's so important to market.
Yeah, absolutely. And learning the difference between marketing and advertising, like all of that. And even going back to just, as a listing agent, I can tell you one thing, like the majority of 99% of real estate agents do passive marketing. They take nice photos, they hopefully nice videos, post it in the MLS, do a couple of open houses, postcards, and hope for the best.
Yeah.
That is the old way. That doesn't work anymore.
No.
Now you could do so much more. If Amazon can track you with the ads, you could do that for real estate ads too. I could pontificate and talk about this over and over. It takes a lot of know-how and you have to spend years to learn it and own it. But once you could do that, it's like you really set yourself apart in your market. You set yourself apart and people are like, that's the way of the future. That's the way real estate should be marketed. And I'm telling you, every brokerage, it's pretty much, you can't rely on your brokerage for
No.
marketing. I mean, seriously, you can't, because there's just a lot of vested interest and conflicts. Vendors go to them and they send you what the vendors ads are doing. And like, I don't know, maybe there are some amazing brokerages out there, but the majority of them, I've looked at all of the marketing and everything. It's pretty much all the same. It's just
Yeah.
rehashed in a
Yeah.
different way. But that's and it's upon the agent to do something that is extraordinary for their clients. The
Right.
agent has to come up with that idea.
So there's an agent here in my area. Corcoran is the company that he's with.
Mm-hmm.
He does high price point properties. And one day I saw a post that he did on Facebook and it said, I'm going to have this brand new construction waterfront home by this particular well-known high-end builder. And we're going to have content media day. And you can come with your videographer, your drones, and we're going to be here all day long. You don't even have to tag me. And it was going to be from 9 to 4 all day long. And I'm thinking, he's going to bring so many agents in the door. This is brilliant because he's
Exactly.
giving something to them, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I had him on my podcast afterwards, and I said, "How many people did you get in the house that day?" Because it was stellar. And he said 275. I said, "I know that you said they didn't have to tag you. How many did?" He said 150. I said, "I knew it. I knew they would, and you knew they would too, right?"
Right.
That's unique marketing. And he had that
Absolutely.
house sold.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You nailed it. You 100% nailed it. We have to think outside the box. We have to do things like that. And that's the kind of agent that the consumers of today deserves.
Yes.
The neighbor, you know what my slogan is? My slogan has become, I kid you not, I writing it on the back of my business card. It says, I'm not your neighborhood realtor.
Mm,
I'm not your neighborhood realtor. If you're expecting somebody who bakes the cookies, and nothing wrong with that. But that kind of right now, that's such limited exposure.
yeah.
And interest rates are a little bit higher. It's not 2022 anymore. It's not 3%. Now it's 7%. You got to look for those buyers. You got to look for those investors. You got to look for those people. And I've come up now, I can tell you that in order for me to do a sale, because we keep everything, the key performance indicators in my business, we track them all. We have spreadsheets, we check them every day. I have to touch 100,000 people before I get a conversion when it comes to selling a listing for a buyer, whether they buy it or not, but 100,000 people. That before, when interest rates were 3%, with like 5,000 clicks, you get somebody to write an offer, right? Now it's different, but it's okay. I have the tools to touch 100,000 people, right? Because
Yes.
we have the help of Google, we have the help of Meta, we have social media, we have, built in. So it's an example of what you gave, that 275 people go there. They all have followers, they all have things,
Yes.
and quickly it's exponential, and you get to that number when you get the conversion. It's so mathematical that it's kind of crazy
Yeah.
how it's like, and we see it with the advertising too, right? Like, people buy leads from Zillow, whatever, and think there's a conversion rate, right? There's a conversion rate. It's like every 50 leads you get one phone call or whatever. Every 100 leads you get one appointment. Whatever the conversion rate is, you're going to stay within that range. So once you figure that out for your market and for your product, because it's different, right?
Right.
If I'm selling a condo, it's different than if I'm selling a new construction. New
Absolutely.
construction have different audiences than a one-bedroom condo, right? So you have that. So maybe it's 100,000 for a condo, maybe it's 50,000 for a fixer, maybe it's 75,000. The secret sauce, it's in the numbers, and it's in what you look.
And it's recognizing who your pool of buyers is, where they're coming
Absolutely.
from. For me, the first thing I'm doing when I'm walking through a listing appointment is I'm analyzing, first of all, does anything need to be done to the house? What do we got to do here? Do I
Right.
have a team player on the other side of the contract here? Are they going to try and force me to tell me what price it is? Are they going to tell me what they're not going to do in the house and that I
Mhm.
make? If they're not a team player, I don't also want the listing. I'm willing to walk
Right.
away. Now, in the beginning, I was pretty hungry and may have taken more than I should have, but those are good lessons because they
Absolutely.
teach you you don't need to do that because it costs you money. And then I'm also figuring out who's my buyer. Who is the buyer for this property?
Right.
I had one that was a $5 million listing. It was that was the biggest one I ever had. But I'd worked 12 years to get that through how I was staying in touch, right?
Mhm.
And I'd sold other homes that client had, but this was the big one. I wanted the big one. And this was probably 4 or 5 years ago. And it was very taste specific for the area, very ornate, unique, beautiful waterfront home. But it also hadn't been taken care of. And I had a couple splitting. So he wanted a certain price. She was willing to just let it go and blah, blah, blah. So I was dealing, and this is common. This is common in real
Right.
estate, right? Everything I just said. And so I had to figure out how am I going to, where's my buyer coming from that
Right.
wants this? Because my pool was small and I needed to get this all over the place as far as where I could present it. And I gave agents permission in our company to market it as if it was theirs, no matter what state they were in. And I said, market it, and I'll get you the buyer side of the commission, the referral. I'll get a buyer here, agent here, and you'll get the referral. I don't need it. I don't want to dual side that because there was conflict. That was the last thing I wanted.
Right.
And anyway, I had a buyer in 11 days and he came from Ohio. I'm in North Carolina. He came from Ohio and he had an agent who lived in Florida. I said,
Wow.
he was offering me a full price cash offer and wanted to write a contract. I said, no, you need to come here. I want you to see this house in
Right.
person. Pictures are great. And I had great pictures. I said, but come here in person. And he had a similar house to it. That's what drew him. But how he found it, he had done a Google search for Lake Norman mansion. Well, that was never one of my hashtags. So I knew somebody else had somehow got the buyer there.
Right.
So anyway, he looks at the house and he was a builder and he could see all the different challenges. And the seller had filled out the repair thing as if nothing was wrong, no disclosure, but
Hmm.
had lived there 12 years. And
Right.
so the buyer says, well, I'm not giving any due diligence, which is required in our state. And I said, well, I totally understand that. And, but anyway, my amazing thing was he was looking for that style house. That's what I'm getting back to. He
Hmm.
wanted to be on that lake and that was like his other house. And he was going to keep the other house. This was going to be a
Right.
second home. My point being is I was targeting as many places as I could to reach out all over the United States
Hmm.
instead of just my circle. And like going back to what you said, if agents are just putting it in the MLS, even if they boosted it a little bit, that's nothing compared to what
Right.
you've got to do.
Exactly. I agree. Today's consumer deserves better.
Yes.
Real estate agents are stuck in the 90s, most of them. It's the truth. For as much as I love realtors, the majority of them are stuck in the 90s and are doing marketing as if it was 1999.
Yes.
There is a different way to do it. It's called active marketing, and barely anyone is doing it. And there's definitely a lot of potential in doing it that way. And it's a true value proposition to let your client know how you could do things differently than everyone else.
Hmm. What are some of the things that you do different for your
I mean,
clients?
I have a huge laundry list. Like, I mean, I'm not kidding. There's like almost 200 advertising points. We use Trello as a project manager for
Hmm.
like, we have specific cards with specific tasks that we do for each one of the listings. A lot of it, as you can see just by Googling me, involves media and
Yep.
it involves videos. But beyond that, there's also like the specific outreach that you do. Like I give you an example. So, let's say you are selling a condo in a neighborhood that you feel that it could be good for people who are downsizing, right?
Mm. Yep.
Okay. So you do a title search of people that have owned their home over 40 years, right? Okay. So you could do that's public records. You can search it. Okay. Chances are that maybe some of these people, now you have a list. Now you've got a list. And that list, it's how you reach to that list. That's the magic. Like you could do, you don't have necessarily to do interruption marketing where you are, but you can make sure that the information reaches them. So target like I believe you said something to that effect, but a buyer profile is very important. It's to look at the asset you're selling and saying who would be the buyer for this.
Hmm.
In a neighborhood where every home is selling for $1 million and you're selling a $5 million home because it's giant, et cetera, the guy next door may not be the right buyer. You have to find the right person. So we could go, there's the layers are multiple, and also there's part of me that says I don't want to give everybody the secret sauce, but it's not like that. There's definitely you
They won't
definitely
listen anyway. They won't. Many won't listen.
yeah. But look, I have a video that talks about, the title is like behind the sale precision targeting. It talks about how we build buyer's profile essentially for a listing and how, like we market that. So that's a good resource for that. But a lot of what is front facing, a lot of what the consumer sees about what I do, it's out there. So if you want to search and look, you can find a lot of the things. But like I said, we have an internal system. I use Trello. I used to use Dot Loop, which was just too clunky. So we ended up
Yeah.
moving to Trello,
Trello
which
is
is
great.
which is a great project management system. And we have listing workflows, buyers workflows that involve not just your typical get the listing signs, clean the property, take the picture, all of those. But then we also have like 200 marketing points that build upon each other and
Mm.
escalate as time passes. So if a property sells in 1 week, wonderful. We'll do what week one requires. But week two uses the work we did on week one, adds new work, and now the reach expands. So it works in an exponential way. It works from the dot, kind of like this essentially. So by week 8, we have the touches that we need, right? It's like 100,000, whatever. And if not, then there is also, something else kicks in, week 9, etc. So we've really built it. I've worked so hard to build something like a system that works, and every market is different and every budget is different. Like in
Hmm.
LA, we can afford to spend on marketing a listing. I don't want to throw exact numbers out there, but thousands of dollars that are spent on marketing a listing, especially for a high-end listing, right?
Mhm.
Now, if you're selling a property that you have to go based on your budget, you can't put all your commission in it. But I'm telling you, it's not uncommon to put, like thousands of dollars in the marketing, which I think it's worth it, because, we make good living and it's good to put it back in the business. And I think that the consumers deserve it.
Hey, let me ask you this. What kind of commission are you getting out there? Because here we were always getting 3, and now it's the norm is 2.5.
We've been on 2.5. I mean, I personally, like 2.5, it's my fee for selling real estate. 2.5, and then, whatever the buyer agents require. Now with the new regulations, the buyer agent has to ask, but I tell my sellers, like, just so you know, this covers my fee. And then the buyer, if they pay for their own agent, great, which I've never seen happen. But if they don't, then they will ask for you to pay. So you should expect, to, whatever the circumstances may be, it comes with the offer. And that's another negotiating point. But our for me, it's been 2.5 to make. I mean, it depends by the price point, like some price points, you adjust accordingly, whether up or down based on you have to make a living, and you want to
Right.
make sure that there's enough money for marketing. So all of those things play a factor in it.
Yeah, and I think that's the big piece that you just said. We're here to make a living. I look at what's my net. So when I look at a price point that I want to work, I'm always figuring out what's my net so that
Right.
I mean, I pretty much know my low price point that I'm going to go, and I pretty much know the amount of the commission percent that I'm willing to go, with some fluctuation sometimes depending on the need, as you said. Not everything is cookie cutter. You've got to adjust, but my basics. And I teach agents, you can go out, because around here we'll have a $200,000 house, and they may
Mhm.
focus on a $200,000 house, but they could focus on an $800,000 house
Right.
because there's plenty of sales in that market. I said, what's your net? Can you afford to keep selling $200,000 houses,
Yeah.
marketing it? And I said, you have to build a business, and just like you've done with the systems are so important. Using Trello makes it clean and easy. Your systems that you've laid out, and they didn't come overnight. You know,
Oh no.
this is where ChatGPT can help, though, because there are systems that are out there, and you could say to Chat, do some deep research. What are some of the best realtors that are out there that are sharing their stuff, doing to create systems that I can be more effective and benefit from? And
You
you
want
can
to
start there.
Yeah, you want to hear something interesting about this subject? I did 1 year of Tom Ferry coaching.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I kept asking was like, show me the systems. Where are the systems? They don't. It's focused on prospecting, like the thing. And it was so interesting, I thought. I mean, literally, like I would go and look at the PDF I can't remember what it's called, like Illum or whatever, the thing that I would sign on to. And it's all about generating business. There is such little focus about servicing the listing. It's
Right there.
remarkable. The whole thing, it's built on generating business. Now, but once you get that business, how do you do a spectacular job? There's literally like, and even like the education on social media, the mega open house, but that's not the system. That's
No.
not the system. That's not like, it's truly what opened my eyes, Kathy. It's like the fact that I started following something called, it was about Silicon Valley startups.
Mm.
Okay. It was a channel, I think it's called the Incubator, something Incubator. Now it's like a orange logo. It's very easy. Airbnb came out of it, Uber came out of it, like all
Mm.
these startups came out of it. And the people talk about it, about building a business, right? Building a business you can sell. Now, even if this was a huge mind shift for me. Even if I have no intention of selling the business, why don't I build the business that looks like something you can sell? Most agents don't have a business. They don't have a
No.
business they can sell. They have them and then a CRM.
Yeah.
But if you have
Nothing.
a system, a business you can sell, you have an actual model, and you think about it, this is it. This is what it is. You build it with that mentality. Obviously, maybe there's no market for it. Maybe there's nothing to sell, but you build it with the mentality of like, I'm building something that can be valued and that can be sold. That was a huge shift. That's when we started working on systems. That's when we really started using the power of, we run our business in the Google Workspace. So, like all the, really starting to use all the spreadsheets and really starting to use like the email templates, the responses. Now I have 250 that was built internally from us, templates
Wow.
that provide updates and answer clients' questions. Like I always put my own sprinkle in it, but you have to streamline the work. What is this AI good for if we don't use it to become more productive, increase productivity, analyze the data? I use AI every day. For me, it's been a game changer, particularly for me, or the voice AI. So talking to AI
Yep.
rather than typing into AI, it's very useful. And now we just started experimenting. I'm going to give some tips and tricks now. We just started experimenting with Runaway ML, which is, it's a video generation platform for AI. And we want to get to a point where we can start doing AI videos. So forget about filming anything, just building the video through AI. Like that stuff, that's probably next level. The system is not good enough yet to do it, but it's a good implementation. And we use services, like TubeBuddy, things like
Yeah.
that, to do the thumbnails. Everything is AI generated now. Like I'm telling you, you can really, it feels overwhelming until you learn the systems,
Right.
and until you find the right people. I suggest any agents who get serious about this, you got to be able to hire somebody. You got to hustle hard so that you can have a full-time assistant. That's going to make the difference. You need an assistant. I'm not a proponent of having a 50 agent team, but you need an assistant. And then eventually your next step is you need either a buyer or showing agent, like,
Yes.
kind of a thing. Once you start building that core, then you can focus really on, because if you're driving people around, nothing wrong with that. But if you're using your focus for that, it's very difficult to grow the business. And another thing that I want to say, I'm kind of pontificating, but this is important. It's you got to be the quarterback.
Yeah.
You got to serve, you got to get the business and serve it. I belong to a networking group very similar to what you belong in. And there is a very successful attorney in the group. He's a partner in a firm. And I was like, but you do a lot of networking. What are you serving your clients? I was like, asking, I always see you at these networking events. And he was like, I have a partner. We share everything 50-50. My job is to get the business and I hand it off to him, who ends the same thing. We kind of like shadow each other. And I was like, oh, that's brilliant. He's just focused on business acquisition, and the other attorney is focused on handling the case.
Yes.
And because of that, because they have the know-how, both of them, so anyway, that was another revelation that I had like a few years ago.
Yeah, I love that. And I think the bottom line here is there are realtors that just live through each day, just getting done the tasks that have to be done. They're not at all treating it like a business. They're also usually behind on their taxes, and they're living paycheck to paycheck because they're not running it like a business. This is really meant for entrepreneurs who want to really run it like a business. They're the ones that are succeeding. I met this guy. He was in the top 100 at KW, and he was checking out EXP, and I met him at an event, and he was telling me he's from California, and he was telling me the volume, the massive dollar amounts that he did. And I said, "Do you have a big team?" And he goes, "No." He goes, "I have people that fill different roles." He goes, "I got someone who's in charge of the office, someone who's in charge of the marketing. I have a showing agent. I don't even talk to my clients except on the initial call, and I tell them I'll talk to them on Fridays." He goes, "Everybody else is already in tune with how they talk to the client and take care of them. We do outstanding work." Clearly he did. He was top 100 in all of KW. And I said, "So yours breaks down to systems and roles, assignments, and in harmony." He goes, "That's it." And he goes, "And I'm able to be with my kids, and I'm able to have a life, and everybody is too, because everybody has their role instead of trying to build a team where everybody's trying to do the same thing." No.
I agree with you. That's very refreshing to hear that. I love agents who do $100 million in volume a year easily, and there's solo agents with like a core strong team, because you don't really need, there's also a business model where you end up becoming a broker essentially, even though they call, these large team with 50 agents. You're just a broker, basically, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. You're a broker who sells real estate on the side. But if you have 50 agents on your team, it's not really a team. That's my opinion, at least. But I would say that when you are able to find the right people to fulfill the right roles and you have the right system, I'm going to tell you a little story. I called somebody once, and great agent, very successful agent. And I remember on their voicemail, on their personal cell phone, it said something that I complimented him because it said, sorry, I missed your call. I return calls at 2 o'clock. And I was like, that's so awesome. Like, I already know when he's going to call me back. Right. He said it in a cool way. I think he said, I check voicemails I check voicemail at 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. I'll call you as soon as I get your message, something like that.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
didn't feel like he was putting distance. You didn't feel like he was like being too snobbish, because you felt like, oh, this is the time when he checks his voicemail,
Yeah.
between those 2 times a day,
And that's how
5
he's
days a week or
efficient.
whatever the thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's how he's efficient. Well, this has been great. Got any other tips you want to share before we head out?
The other thing, I think it's important to really love what you do. Yeah, be passionate about it. That makes, because your ingenuity will your brain will start clicking if you have a passion. It also has to feel like a comfort. For me, learning about real estate and growing my bag of tools feels like an exciting thing. In
True.
the evening, after I finish dinner, sometimes I'm like, see if I could, like I read a lot of books, and I love to, like, hey, I can't wait to get there to my friendly book who's going to tell me something about how to, use AI for this, or how to, I've been studying a lot on people who have done huge contribution in real estate development, like people who developed, like downtowns and things like that. I love that. I love learning about that, and we don't realize how important real estate is in the life of individuals.
So I think I've got something that you may love. Glenn Sanford, he's the founder of EXP. He's now EXP bought Success Magazine. And
Okay.
so several years back. So other people have been running it and he'll be in there periodically, but that's not the exciting thing. He is a nerd. He is an AI nerd, and I adore this man for the things that he brings as far as technology. So
Nice.
I was in Lisbon at a black tie gala for luxury properties over there. And so he was one of the speakers. And he's got on his meta glasses, and he's got some sort of circle lapel thing that was recording everybody. But he starts out and he goes, I love tech. And he goes, and I'm covered head to toe. He goes, these glasses are recording all of you right now. And he goes, and this
Yeah.
little recorder is recording everything. So watch out what you say before you come up near me. And he goes, and of
Very
course,
good.
our phones. And, but anyway, he decided to leave the international piece of EXP, and he wanted to go into Success Magazine because
Mhm.
of AI, and he saw all kinds of opportunities. So I'm going to send you a link because he's got a new link that's for any business, any field, anything, where you can have an AI GPT. Do you know what I'm talking about? And
Yes.
it's all about success. And you can say, hey, I want to fine tune my systems, and ask it whatever. Well, you get this GPT. There's no fee to it. It's for everybody. It's the coolest thing I ever saw. There's no promotion of EXP. It's just this. And I said,
Nice.
this is a give back gift on steroids. And so I forget what I asked it the first time because I can get lost on all that stuff for hours. And but it was just amazing, and I will send you that link to his post just so you can read it and see if it's something you would want to try. And I'll probably
Absolutely.
put that in the description too because it's so good for everybody. And so I encourage you to check that out. I gave it to my daughter, I gave it to my son, I gave it to all these different
Nice.
business people, and it's amazing if you feel that you can benefit from AI helping you create something, whatever it is.
Right.
Well, that's great. I loved it. I loved your systems. I loved so much what you had to say. It was right on target, and I think really beneficial for our viewers. And I hope somebody got some great nuggets.
Yeah, and absolutely. And you know what? Some parting words. If anybody needs help and wants to reach out to me, feel free. I love to talk to other agents. I love to talk to anybody. So if anybody needs any help and wants some advice, I'm approachable.
Oh, I love that. I love
Yeah.
being approachable.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Well, that's it, everybody. That is our podcast for today, and I hope you found value in it. There was so many golden nuggets, and stay tuned for the next one. See
Bye,
y'all.
everybody.
So thanks for joining me on this episode of Real Estate Riches. Wasn't that great? I'm sure you got a nugget or two. I know I did. So if you liked it, please subscribe below, share it with everybody, make some comments. We really find that invaluable. And if you're thinking that you would love to talk about this a little bit more, let's schedule a business strategy call. I'll have the link below. And let's see if we can't mastermind together and see if we can empower each other. That would be great. So until next time, signing off. Hope to see you on the next one.